This is the FlipNerd.com Expert Real Estate Investing Show, the show for real estate investors, whether you're a veteran or brand new. I'm your host, Mike Hambright, and each week I bring you a new expert guest that will share their knowledge and lessons with you. If you're excited about real estate investing, believe in personal responsibility, and taking control of your life and financial destiny, you're in the right place. Hey everyone, this is episode number 315, and my guest today is Iris Veneracion. Iris is an active investor, but also inspires women and men to successfully invest in real estate through her Women's Real Estate Investing Club. Like me, she's a corporate refugee and puts a lot of focus on lifestyle design. And without creating another job for herself, that's why she left corporate America. So today we talk about the importance of networking and being an active investor in your market, how to find a solid mentor, and the right and wrong ways to find partners. We also, again, talk quite a bit about defining your goals and making sure that you're focused on building a life with no regrets, a lifestyle that you love. I'm excited to have Iris on the show. Please help me welcome her now. Iris, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good. Great to see you.
Oh, great to be back. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. I was just we talked a little bit beforehand. It was like 120 episodes ago. So we're much more mature now. We've learned a lot, right? We have some great information to share.
I don't know if I'm more mature, but let's
well, from a business standpoint, you still may be very immature, actually, but no.
Well, hey, we like to have fun, make money. So
yeah, hey, you gotta have fun along the way for sure. In fact, that's some of the stuff we're going to talk about today, right? Which is lifestyle design and kind of why do we work so hard and all those things, right?
It's so important to know.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to talk about these things because sometimes we forget about them. And before we kind of jump into the meat of the show, why don't you take a couple minutes and tell everybody who you are and what you do and a little bit more about you.
Sure. Okay, so I'm Iris Veneracion, by the way, and I live here in Southern California, and my background is mortgage finance, and about 13 years ago, in the thick of things, when the mortgage industry was just blowing up, I decided I was tired and working for corporate wasn't for me anymore, and I jumped to the dark side and went to real estate investing. Actually, it's the light for me. And
you left the dark side, right?
Yeah, I left the dark side. Here you go. and just again did what a lot of people want to do. Is just totally quit my job and just went for it. And so that was in 2003. My original goals back then were to get 100 doors behind my belt, and I wanted to do it as fast as possible. And like I was mentioning earlier in our conversation before, Mike, I got 50 doors in, and I'm like, I can't deal with this anymore. And so, I had to reassess what it was that I really wanted and why I was doing this real estate. Yeah. And then go from there. And it's okay to change directions or change goals. Something maybe we'll talk about a little bit later.
Right.
And then, and while all that was happening, the market tanked. 2007, 6, 7, 8 happened. And that's when I decided to start a real estate club. And everyone thought I was absolutely insane because at the time, everyone hated real estate.
Yeah, everybody was
why are you
fleeing.
Starting a club?
Yeah.
And so, and that's Invest Club for Women. And a lot of men come to our club too. Everyone's welcome. And what I realized back then is what was happening to me wasn't just me. It was happening to a lot of people. And I realized that it was really important to stick together and become a community where you can support one another, get good information, share your mistakes, find opportunities, and that it was critical to understand that there is help out there. And if you quit, you're never going to get it back. So you got to keep going. And real estate is just a cycle. Things will come back, but, know your timing. So it's not just about, how to do, but when to do certain things, because you can make great money in real estate in any cycle. It's just choosing, what niches you're going to be grabbing onto when the market's right. So that's when the club was born. And now, the club's been around for 8 years now. We're a strong community in Southern California, and if any of your listeners would like to stop by, you're certainly welcome.
Great. We'll add a link for the Invest Club for Women after the show, or here, or kind of the bottom of the show,
Awesome.
below the video, so everybody can see how to get to it. So yeah, I know we're excited. We're going to talk about lifestyle design and stuff in part 2 of the show today in the Taking Action segment. But up front here, and I know that because you formed a club, and in many ways I've formed a big club in terms of Flip Nerd, right? Kind of a community of people that we kind of believe the same things, of the fact that it's real easy to be. If you're not doing stuff like this, or you're not participating socially, real estate investing is a pretty lonely place, right? It can be.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And you might be killing it. You might be failing, or you might be killing it, but you're usually kind of on an island unless you find some way to kind of socialize and share your knowledge and learn from others and share your experiences and all those things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I truly believe that you don't have to be alone. You don't have, a lot of people are, but you don't have to be a lone ranger in this business. It's so important to, number one, surround yourself with people, like-minded people. Everyone's heard that. And one great way, I admire your community so much, because it's amazing, with technology today, there's so much information that's available, and you can consume it 24/7. And great speakers you have, like on this show. There's a ton of podcasts. It's all available. But I truly, and maybe I'm saying this because I have an actual, brick and mortar club.
Right.
But I think it's so very important, because real estate is a people business, will always be, and a relationship business. I think it's really important, for your listeners and people in their local areas to find the local clubs and meet the local people and really develop those relationships. And I think it's really important too, because when I first started out, I didn't have platforms like this, podcasts to listen to, and all this education available online. And so I learned everything by going to real estate clubs and educating myself further. There's so many ways to make money in real estate, right? So what are you going to choose? And I assure you, there's a niche for everyone, in this business. And when you find that niche, when there's something that fits your lifestyle and fits your personality, that's really important. Then you need to pursue it. You need to get further educated, because you're not going to learn everything in, these, 30, 40-minute bite-sized segments, or even in, an hour and a half class in a real estate club. You need to further educate yourself, because there are huge learning curves, and people that have been there before, that are sharing their information will really help.
And I think that some of the challenges, it can get overwhelming with a lot of information out there. And I realize, hey, as I'm thinking, maybe we're contributing to that by having, so much content and stuff. But the hope is not, with Flip Nerd, our hope has never been that, hey, just come here and you can learn everything you need to do. But it's to inspire people by what's possible, by meeting people that have done certain things, right? And say, because I think, we can talk about mentors and stuff like that a little bit, and as part of the importance of networking, but it's really important to, not copy, but emulate somebody, or like find somebody that's done something that you do, or a way that somebody does something, and say, I want to learn that because I think that's my path. And I think some of the challenges, if all you do is consume information, you start to lose confidence in your ability to do anything, because there's so many things that you might want to do, or so many different approaches you might try to make. But it's like, hey, you just, maybe down the road after you perfect something, you can start to broaden out, but you need to find one thing that you can be really good at and go do that, right?
Certainly. And, I always, again, because I have a club, I know a lot of people in our community fall to the shiny object syndrome, right?
Yep.
Everyone that comes speaks is amazing, and they have a great system, or they want to be like them, and because it's always so fresh and exciting. But again, I just caution, you need to be able to take this stuff in and really kind of ask yourself, what is it? Is this what I want to be doing? Do I want to be on the phone constantly, or would I rather be out in the field talking to people in person, or would I rather be just analyzing deals? So it's really important, again, to look within yourself and determine what it is that you like the best. Now, sometimes you're not going to figure that out until you do something, right?
Absolutely,
And that's okay. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying before. It's okay to figure out what your goals are and to maybe reassess them when you're maybe in it for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years. Reassess it and just make sure, hey, this is where I'm going. Because again, there's so many opportunities in real estate. You don't have to live and die by one niche.
Yeah. And I'm definitely not saying that everybody needs to do what I do, but I can tell you, even recent experience, I bought hundreds of houses. I mentor a team that buys nearly 1,000 houses a year. And I've been in a niche, single family, fix and flip, wholesale, keep as rentals, and, about as kind of plain vanilla as you can get in real estate investing. But I will tell you, recently I have a number of friends, someone's been on the show before, I won't say any names, but they were having a webinar on something that was really fascinating to me. And I was like, I want to learn about that. And the next thing you know, it's something that I might be able to bolt onto my business. We're talking, I knew him. So I just said, hey, I was on your webinar yesterday. So, we got on the phone and talk about, how I might be able to pull that into my business. But I'm kind of bolting it onto something that I already have.
Sure.
And so I think that that's okay. So you almost have to have like your ducks in a row in terms of the foundation of what you do. And then if you start to want to bolt things on or say, well, I'm really fascinated with multifamily, maybe I can start to lean in that direction, but at least I've got my foundation over here of what I know works, right?
Yeah.
It's time for a quick announcement. We'll be back to the show in less than 30 seconds. PassiveRental.com is your source for turnkey, done-for-you rental properties. If you'd like to be an investor and not a landlord, please visit PassiveRental.com to learn how to purchase cash-flowing, professionally managed rental properties in the hottest rental markets across the country. We can also help connect you with financing for your next property. Invest the easy way today and get started by visiting PassiveRental.com. Maybe I can start to lean in that direction, but at least I've got my foundation over here of what I know works, right?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That's so important to have your foundation. Exactly. Yeah. And, and that's why I love real estate so much because, again, I can't, there's so many ways to make money in real estate. So yeah, once you have your foundation, there's real estate's always so exciting and the market always changes, right? So there's, sometimes you just gotta, look at, and maybe you're focusing on this type of thing, your rentals, for example. And then when it's time to flip again, maybe that's when you focus all your energy. So it's okay to be fluid, and you need to be fluid.
You have to be,
it's
right?
Just like anything. There's cycles and you have to play accordingly.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the best way to know what cycle's going on is to be, in touch in shows like this. Be in touch with your local community and going to real estate clubs to see what the pulse of the market is. And it's different in every market.
Absolutely. Because the big thing is, if you're by yourself, you can't see around the corner as much as you can if it's like groupthink. It's like whether you go to a club or whether you're listening into experts, on podcasts or other things, because you can start to hear people now. Everybody's questioning, where's the market going? I'm getting a little nervous here. You can kind of feel that where like 2 years ago, it was like the sky's the limit, so you can kind of feel that general vibe of going on right now. But I think the important thing is not to say the market might shift, so I need to figure out when to get out. I think you say the market might shift, so how can I thrive in that next thing that's coming around the corner, and how can I learn some lessons, or what can I learn from challenges I had in the last cycle or whatever it is. I think that's the best thing about seasoned real estate investors is they don't kind of get in and out necessarily. They just have different strategies in different markets. And so if you can kind of watch for what's going on, you can learn from people that have been around, some of the old sages and folks that have their ear to the ground, then Absolutely. You can plan to take advantage of that when it happens.
Yeah, and I just have to say, there's a lot of those folks around that I'm sure that are out there that are willing to help. And again, how do you meet them? How do you get around them? How do you get in their space? Where do they hang out? Maybe they're at real estate clubs. I don't know. That's why it's really important to also just surround yourself with a community of the people that are doing the same thing as you. Because I know even myself as a business owner, having great colleagues, that maybe aren't necessarily doing the same things I am specifically, they're really good to have around, because even as a business owner, I still have blind spots myself, right? So
absolutely.
It's good to have an awesome community.
Let's talk about mentors a little bit. So, sometimes people go to clubs to find mentors. Sometimes they hire mentors in like a private coaching type thing or group coaching or whatever. There's lots of ways you can find a mentor. But what are your thoughts on just kind of mentors in general and how people can find somebody that's a good fit?
Absolutely. I think mentors are definitely so very important. And I'm sure your listeners have heard this before. So the question is, how do you find a good one, right? You can go take, some huge seminar and sign up for their coaching, but are they really a mentor in that sense, right? Or are they just on a call with you for an hour once a month?
Yeah.
I believe in like having someone localized because, again, every market is different and the nuances in every market can change. So if you're going to find a mentor, I would say find someone who's doing stuff in your community, and number one, who's doing stuff that you want to emulate. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if you're a flipper, why would you be following a mentor or a person who just only holds, right?
Right.
I think it's important to be a balanced investor.
Sure.
Hold and flip and that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
But find someone that you want to emulate and the lifestyle that you are looking for. Find someone. Okay, so that being said, I do know, like in my community and for myself, and there are a lot of people that have experience that are willing to help. All you have to do is ask. But with that being said, I'm like, careful how you ask because I'm willing to help anyone around me who is willing to help themselves. I mean, we can spot, or I should say I can spot a time energy vampire a mile away. The ones that come and just say, oh my gosh, I want to pick your brain. Can I take you to lunch and pick your brain? I'm like, I don't want my brain picked. Right. I mean, it doesn't sound good to me. Right. But, if you have a specific question or something, yeah, I would love to help it. Or like something that's that happened recently to me was I spoke at a club and a lot of people ask, hey, can you take me around? Can I see your properties? Blah, blah, blah. That's great. That's fine. I hear it all the time. And one person actually came up and really great guy. And he came up with a proposition where he's like, look, if I could offer you this, will you allow me to do this? And he really stuck out in my mind.
Yeah.
And what he asked for was essentially what everyone else asked for. Can you follow me on a property? Can you watch, how I deal with contractors, things like that. But he so stuck out in my mind because he actually was willing to give something in order to get something for return in return. And so, I realized,
so what was that?
He was willing to give something.
Yeah. What was he offering?
So he offered, his name is Steven, by the way. He offered to help me update my website.
Okay. So something of high value to you probably, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's something that he already does.
It's better than like, can I buy you a $10 lunch and learn everything you know? Right.
Which, lunch is great, but make it a $100 lunch. Not just kidding.
No, that's awesome. I think that there's a great lesson there because I think a lot of people, and it just comes off this way sometimes. Not that people are, I'm not saying people are bad people, but they sometimes say, hey, can you do this for me? Can you add a lot of value to me without any sort of offer to do anything in exchange of kind of like value or meaningful? Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I think, I've always wanted to help people. And I mean, gosh, this is show number 315. We've done a ton of stuff and we spend a lot of time sharing our knowledge, people like you join and share their time. So you can tell just from the fact that we're doing this, there's no hard sales pitches or anything that we do on hundreds of shows, right? So everybody that's involved likes to give back and they like to share, but you also kind of realize that, hey, you have limited resources and you have an opportunity cost of your time. Mm-hmm. And so I think anytime you can approach people, maybe you can kind of give some tips on the right way to approach people and ask for, how can I learn from you? And then how can I benefit you for sharing that with me?
Sure. Okay. So one example I can give, I'm a flipper in the community. So I always reach out to people and say, hey, do you have anything that you want to wholesale? Because I will buy it, for example. So, I'll get a lot of wholesalers that will, get potential deals, and maybe they're not sure it's a deal yet or whatnot, but or if they have it under contract. Either way, they'll come ask for advice, and the first thing is, be really specific in your questions. If you're asking me to like evaluate your whole property and tell you what you should do with it, that takes a little more time and effort, So show me that you actually did your research and that you're helping yourself for,
Right.
doing something here before you just try to ask, everything they need to know
Right.
in order to move forward.
Or you meet them at a property and they don't even have anything to write on.
But
Tell me what I need to do, but just
right.
yeah.
Right.
Can you send me that in an email too?
Huh? Oh yeah, right. So show me that you've actually done a little work behind it, and ask me some specific things that I can answer quickly. And obviously, if it's an interesting deal, I will dive in there a little bit, deeper in with you. But you got to show me that you've already done something versus asking me to do everything.
Right.
Another great thing that I've suggested to people is, if it's let's say you want to flip and you found a deal, and flipping, there's a huge learning curve when you flip a house. And so I always tell, if you're going to do your first one, please partner up with someone who's done it before, because you're going to learn a lot, and you're probably going to save a lot of time and definitely a lot of money. And in doing so, how do you approach that? Let's say you're someone who's a new flipper, and maybe you don't have money, but you certainly have time and you can put in effort. Okay. And you found the deal. So what if you could bring it to your local flipper and say, hey, look, I want to wholesale this deal to you, but how about this? Why don't you give me my wholesale fee when you're done with the project and you sell it? Maybe you can ask for a bigger wholesale fee because of it, right?
Right.
And then there's no money out of their pocket. It's just going to come out of the proceeds. But in return, what if you ask, hey, can I follow you in this project? Can I, set up some contractors? Can I meet some people? Can I see how you deal, with certain things? Can I see your timeline? Can I help you with the budget, right? And then that way you can see first, what a great opportunity, not only for the person who's flipping, that they can have someone they can maybe have run around, the city for them.
Yep.
But then it's a great opportunity because you get to see the thing firsthand.
Yep. Absolutely.
Or, other suggestions is maybe you have the deal and you have some money sitting around. So how can you participate? Maybe you can be a private lender. But again, in exchange, you have to specifically ask, can I be at that property? Can I be there when you're there? Can I help you get some contractors? But I think that is the best seminar you can take when it comes to flipping.
Yeah, learn by doing.
So
You got to do, right? Even at this point, we've bought hundreds of houses. I've done hundreds of rehabs, and there's stuff that happens to me very often on new projects that's never happened to me before. But what you start to develop is just a confidence to say something's going to happen to me that I've never seen before and never thought that would happen to me, but I'm not worried about it because I'll just make a decision in like 1 minute and move on, And I think that the confidence is the big part that's hard to learn without doing, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Because you can't read every instance of what could possibly happen to you on a flip in a book or at a seminar or anything else.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of, the real learning is in the doing. It's exactly like you said. It doesn't matter if you take a 60-day challenge or a week-long seminar or 12 months of mentorship.
Yeah.
There's stuff, like you said, that happens to you and me, experienced seasoned investors, that you've never seen. And yes, having the confidence makes all the difference in the world. But if you're out there doing it on your own and you don't have any experience, you don't have anyone that you can reach out to, ask for a hand or any advice, if you're a lone ranger, for example,
yeah.
I mean, that'll sink you so fast and get you so discouraged. So again, important to have community. And the other thing too, when it comes to like mentors, I don't know how many times I tell people in my community, in our clubs and whatnot, just here's my number, give me a call, send me an email. And so many people just don't. And I really applaud the people that do. But at the same time, kind of like what we had talked about earlier, Mike, if you're going to ask me a question, please be specific. Don't ask me to just give you all, mentoring and
make it easy for you to get a response. Otherwise, you may just not respond, or you may kind of hold back because it's like, it made this too hard for me to give them a thorough response. So,
but don't be afraid to ask either. So
right.
Be conscientious of who you are being when you're asking.
Yeah.
What are you giving? What are you, instead of just, trying to get everything.
Absolutely.
Provide.
Yeah. Well, Iris, I want to jump in just a second. I want to jump into the taking action segment, part 2 of the show here. But before we do, I've got a question that I want to ask you that kind of fits right in. This is the question of the week, which fits perfectly into what we just talked about. What are the biggest mistakes that you see people make with finding a mentor? I know we just kind of talked about this, but maybe some of the things that we didn't talk about. What's the biggest mistake that you see people making when finding a mentor or trying to find a mentor?
Biggest mistake when trying to find a mentor. Okay. Well, this kind of goes to the whole lifestyle design and whatnot. When you go to clubs, when you go watch webinars and stuff like that, I think it's really easy to glop on to someone who's been really successful and lives the lifestyle or whatnot. I think the biggest mistake is people try to follow mentors that, or try to be like mentors or create or, have these mentors' goals when it's not their own.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake is trying to follow someone that maybe isn't really who you want to be or what you want for you and your family. So I think it's really important, number one, to assess what it is, what lifestyle you want, what goals you have, and then find a mentor that is living the life you want. So, for example, if you want to flip 100 houses, there are guys out there, and maybe even women, that are doing that every year. So find them and be that and do what they do. Or for example, there's mentors in our community that all they do is hold. But if you're a flipper, he may be rich and unhealthy, or maybe very stingy or frugal. If that's who you want to be, and you want to hold all, that's all you want to do, then you need to follow that. If you're a flipper, that's the wrong person to be following.
Right.
So find a mentor that fits your goals and your lifestyle design. I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's great. And I've told people this forever, is that I think it's easy to say, oh, I like that, I want that, without really thinking, well, first off, they may not be who you think they are or who they say they are, right? Some people have a face like, I'm a pretty face on Flip Nerd, but you don't want to see me at night. No, just joking. I'm joking. But, my point is that sometimes people are not who you think they are in real life. They may not be, who they position themselves as if they market themselves. But I think more importantly is, because I mentor a lot of people, and it's always like, I could tell you how to go do what I've done or how I would do this or whatever, but what is it that you want? What do you want to accomplish? And the funny thing is that one of the biggest things that it makes sense to everybody right when I say it, but nobody thinks about it, is it has nothing to do with the number of units of homes you do, right? Because it's ultimately it comes down to dollars and lifestyle, but it's not, I know people that do a ton of houses, but in their mind, they've convinced themselves to do thin deals so they can do a lot more volume. It's like, well, maybe you could financially kind of meet your financial goals by doing half of the volume.
Yes.
If you have a different exit strategy or if you do things a little bit differently, right? So I think that is really important to kind of be able to lay out and document what are your financial goals and what are your kind of lifestyle goals, because just saying you want to do what somebody else does, you may not know how hard they have to work to do that or what's happening behind the scenes. So
sure. And I also want to emphasize too that that there's a lot of mentors around you. They just may not be the ones on the webinars. They might not be the ones that are on stage speaking. But there are a ton of people that I meet every day. For example, when I'm trying to vet a deal or get something under contract, I meet incredible people that have amazing portfolios. And they're just maybe older, and they're trying to get rid of some of their stuff. Oh my God, some of my best mentors for sure, and so again, there's an opportunity in finding people that are willing to help you, and that maybe you can help as well, just in the community itself. But are you aware? Are your ears open? Are you looking around? Because there's a lot of experience out there, and it's all around us.
Yeah. Well, Iris, let's jump into the second part of the show here, the Taking Action segment. Thanks for joining us up to this point in the show. The second half of our show is restricted to only FlipNerd Pro and Elite members, and only accessible on FlipNerd.com. If you're not a Pro or Elite member yet, you can upgrade your account in about 1 minute by visiting FlipNerd.com/upgrade. Depending on membership level, you'll get access to off-market properties real-time, including real-time email and text alerts for new properties listed in your market. You'll get access to hundreds of full-length expert interviews, and Elite members get access to the FlipNerd Lab, which includes detailed masterclass trainings, 2 live webinars a month where you can interact with leaders in the industry, and access to our Elite Mastermind group, where you can interact with hundreds of the top real estate investors in America. Build relationships with those that are actually operating successful real estate investing businesses. By visiting FlipNerd.com/upgrade, you'll learn much more about our membership options. And once you've upgraded your membership, come on back and listen to the rest of this show. Wish you could watch or listen to more FlipNerd.com shows? You can. As a premium member, you can get access to the full length of hundreds of past shows at FlipNerd.com/shows. Or hear us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play. While you're there, please subscribe so you don't miss another episode. And if you like what you hear, we'd really love a positive review. It's the ultimate high five for us. Show us some love by subscribing and giving us a great review today.